Hello and welcome to Career Track by Climate Connect, a series where we explore the journeys of people building their careers in climate space. The aim of this podcast is to help the young professionals and young graduates understand the climate landscape and know where they can contribute in. And for today's episode, we have with us Mr. Tanush Prem. He's the founder and CEO of Mushloop, an IISc incubated startup that's currently working on replacing single-use plastics and styrofoam with sustainable biomaterials and agricultural waste. Tanush is also B Visionaries, Mercedes-Benz Fellow, and Stanford Sparks Fellow, all that is based on innovation and science. Tanush, thank you so much for joining in, and I really welcome you to the episode. I'm really excited to have
Thank
conversations
you.
with you.
Thank
So
you, Madhvi,
before
for this wonderful introduction.
so before we dive into the deeper conversation, I just want you to give a brief intro about yourself, what you currently do, what Mushloop is, what it does, in a brief about you.
Yeah, so I'm Tanush. I'm the founder and CEO of Mushloop Private Limited. So I'm basically a mechanical engineer, and then I turned into a mycologist. So what we do at Mushloop is because we want to become a frontier in terms of a biomaterials-based startup in India. And then we started out with packaging to replace styrofoam from agricultural waste and fungus. That's what we started out with. And right now we are also having, in terms of like making pigments from fungi for cosmetics, textile dyeing, food coloring, paints, inks, things it's just like wherever pigments have been like used, we kind of like make use of these guys.
Okay, that's it's really innovative. So, like, what did drive you towards is like, how did this idea came? Because your journey is diverse from mechanical engineering to this
Mhm.
biotechnology aspects. Like, how did you come
Yeah.
up with this idea?
So this is actually my second startup. So initially in my previous startup journey, so that was called Vsauce. So it happened during the COVID time. So during at that point of time, I was like searching for a packaging which is like kind of water resistant as well as biodegradable to transport fresh meat. Because we were like delivering fresh meat and all. So I was searching for that, but I didn't find any packaging which is like kind of water resistant and biodegradable. The kinds of packaging which I found was areca plates and bagaska plates. So in terms of those kinds of packaging, what happens is like you need to either spray starch-based coating to make it like biodegradable as well as water resistant, but that will increase the cost. And if at all you use like any other kinds of plastic base, then it is not like biodegradable. So I was like, why isn't there anything available in the market which is like biodegradable and water resistant?
Mm.
Then I started to research in terms of what are the kinds of stuff. And then I got to know how a fungus is like water resistant in terms of nature also. So I was intrigued in terms of like why it is. And then I thought, why can't we just like grow fungus and then like make that into a packaging? So that was my initial idea. Then I was searching, okay, so how does a fungus grow? Because I don't come from a biotech background. So I was like searching, how does a fungus grow? And I started to learn in terms of like it grows on decaying stuff. And then you need maintain the temperature and humidity for the fungus to grow.
Mm.
And I didn't have any other equipments or maybe something like expertise. So I just like went to a person in Salem. So he's actually an advocate. And then he also started to grow fungus on his side hustle. So I just like spoke with him and then I asked, sir, can you just like teach me how to grow a fungus? And then I
Mm.
stayed with him for a month and then I got to know how a fungus grows, what are the kinds of contamination it faces, and then what is the crop cycle it has. Then I was like searching, is there something like that in India or in the world who grows mycelium based packaging? Then I got to know about Ecovative. So Ecovative is the flow frontiers in terms of mycelium based packaging. And then they have started around 2008. And I was like, are they supplying to India or any other else? Then I spoke with Eben. They were not like supplying to India. Is there any other company in India who does this? I didn't find any other company who's like supplying. So I was like, okay, let me just start something like that. So that is how Mushloop was born. So
Mm.
started to research and like how does a fungus grows. Then I started to explain in terms of like other people like this is how it grows and all. Then I got to know about like there's another problem which we face in India also, which is like crop stubble burning. Then I
Mm.
thought, okay, This is a thing where we kind of use two problems and then one solution. So by making use of the crop stubble, we could like develop mycelium based packaging, which could like replace styrofoam. So we replace two problems with one solution. So that is how
Mm.
Mushloop was started.
Yeah, this is innovative. At the same time, this makes me something to follow up on this itself. Like,
Mhm,
weren't you skeptical initially that like something that is new? So people accepting that is also difficult because what
mhm.
you are making out of fungus and agricultural waste related things. So were you skeptical initially that if people will accept in it, how will your startup work? And were there those things in your mind at that time?
No, so I was not skeptical, I would say, because like, see, so that was like a aha moment. So when I developed this packaging in my house, then I wanted to validate it. So
Mm,
I didn't know any people. So that was like one incubator in Salem. I just like went to them and then I spoke and then they were like, we want to get you incubated. Just like that. I'm like, there's a process you need to pitch and all other things. Then I got to know, okay, this is something bad, which is like, it's going to be huge.
mm,
So what I did was I applied for incubation all over India. Then I got into IIT Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad, IISc Bangalore, and then Anna University Chennai, as well as AIC Raise in Coimbatore. So
mm,
in terms of all these things, IIC is number one, as well as I thought like, okay, I won't get in IIC because that is like so huge in terms of the things what they see. But then they were like kind enough to call me in person and then they asked me like what is it and all other kinds of stuff. Then I showed them the
mm.
product and that is how I got incubated in one of the premier institutes in the world.
I want to know what this incubation things actually work like because a lot of young viewers of this podcast are young
Mhm.
professionals and they would be really interested that IISC is incubating it. So how does it work? It helps in research, in developing, in credibility. What
Mm.
is this?
So basically, a incubator, how they work is like, so you have a baby. So you need to incubate a baby so that it grows. So the same goes for a business. So business as like, for example, I have an idea, but then I don't have a scientific background as well as a business background. So I come from an engineering background, which is mechanical.
Mm,
So
mm,
in terms of all these kinds of things, incubator is a place where they kind of like help you out in terms of developing a product, testing a product, and then fine tuning and validating a product. Then they also support you in terms of a space where you could like employ people as well as you could start something on your own in terms of a lab space as well as different other kinds of products in our company. They also support you in a financial gains too. So this is how our incubator works. So IIC helped us in terms of financial as well as like mentorship. They also helped us in terms of validating a product as well as fine tuning the product from a proof of concept to a prototype to a MVP. And right now we are in the commercialization stage. So this is how IIC played a major role in.
okay, so like, is it like wherever your products are being sold? So like this IISC as well as work with that, and like you must be having contact with the professors or researchers in the institute. Like,
Yeah, so basically, once I got my hands inside IISc, what happened was it was a gateway of like people and scientists all over the world.
mm,
So I was like thinking, okay, so IISc is like so huge, will they even like let me inside the gate? So I was like that. And right now, it is something where I could like easily say IISc is one of the best in terms of like handling people as well as like teaching and empowering people in terms they help you from nothing to just like coming and speaking to multiple other kinds of like places. So that is how you kind of like also contacted us. So this is what IIC like helped us. And so I
mm.
would say I'm like huge gratitude in terms of like getting incubated at Indian Institute of Science Park.
I find it inspiring. It's something that I never heard about that this things also works in startup fields as well. You also
And I would also
mentioned,
like
yeah, yeah,
to add a point. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
sure, sure. No,
So
no, sure.
what happened was, so getting incubated at Indian Institute of Science, I got like uh, spotlight in terms of government of India as well as like the other governments in multiple countries. So once you get incubated in the premier institutes, so it also depends on your product and your idea, but it also plays a incubator's role too. So they kind of like put you in spotlight in terms of the government-based sectors, as well as like people will look, okay, what is the product and how we could like make use of this product in terms of like uh, reducing the usage of styrofoam. So
Mm.
even incubators play a good role in that.
Like you previously mentioned that you are working on two goals at the same time. So, and I
Mhm.
also feel like you are working on environmental issues at the same time, the agricultural waste and fungus,
Yeah,
scientific innovation as well. So, like, can you see how is it creating an impact in the sustainability field?
yeah. So I would say like after the KT season, so the most of the northern parts of India have been like converted into a gas chamber.
Mm,
The air quality index starts from 600 to nearly 1000, where the majority of the air quality for a good air is around like 25 to 40. That is the best. So
mm,
imagine you're living in a space where the overall air quality is around 600 and everything is like done due to these crop stubble burning. And I started to research like why do people burn it? Some people say it is like because of the nitrogen enrichment. But the other thing is they don't have enough labor to clear the land in terms of
mm,
plowing, or maybe they don't have enough money to also make use of other missions to plow the land. So what they do is like they kind of burn it, and because of that it burns, and people just like think only the air quality is getting affected. People also need to know what happens is like the overall first layer of the soil is also getting depleted by these high heat, because once the soil is depleted, the
mm,
crops doesn't like grows a lot more deeper in terms of the root structure. So you need to add a lot of chemical based fertilizers. And after this, what happens, like we as humans, we consume these chemical based fertilizer vegetables, then
mm,
it's an overall life cycle. So I was like thinking, why isn't there any other kinds of things which is like not happening? Then I spoke with multiple farmers in the northern part of India, because in south people don't usually burn it. I was like thinking, why don't people in south, they don't burn it? So I was like, okay, and I started to do a research in terms of southern based farmer practices as
mm,
well as the northern
mm,
based farming practices. In terms of
mm,
southern based farming practices, what usually happens is like there's a lot of cattle feed which is being used. So
mm,
people kind of like employ other people to just get these crop stubble, and then these people are called balers. So they kind of like get these balers, and then they supply these crop stubble to the cattle feed. So
mm,
it is like a complete cycle which is like happening. But in northern parts of India, I've seen like cattles also, but then the amount of fields they have, they don't have enough money to plow it. So that is why they just burn. So these are the two main things. Then that is why I was like thinking, why don't we just like get these crop stubble by paying the farmers a little, because we can't like pay that much. So we can pay the farmers a little and then we could get these. So that it empowers the farmers in terms of a very limited but not like a major stuff. It empowers
mm,
them a very little. And then it also reduces the overall air quality and the pollution which is being caused by the crop stubble burning. So these are the two main factors. And
mm,
once you come in terms of the styrofoam, what happens is styrofoam is being produced like 25 million metric tons in a day. And styrofoam is being used as a overall life cycle is only once, because everything is
mm,
like completely customized. So when you
mm,
buy a TV, so you get the customized foam wala packaging, right? So that is being made of
mm,
styrofoam.
mm, mm,
So initially I was like thinking, okay, so in India we call it as thermocol. So, but the
mm,
scientific name is called styrofoam. So I was
mm,
like thinking, okay, so it looks like paper-based material. I was like
mm,
thinking whether it has been like manufactured by paper. Then I started to research and all. So it has been made from polystyrene. So polystyrene is a chemical which is being extracted from the petrochemical waste. So in India, we just like literally use once in terms of a styrofoam, and it is like literally 90% of fat and the rest is polystyrene. So what usually
mm,
happens is like it's a very denser material, and it's a volume heavy material. So once we just like use it, people just like throw it away, and it just ends up in the
mm,
landfill. What usually happens is like once it ends up in the landfill, the water gets contaminated, the land gets contaminated by porous terrain because of rain, sunlight, and all other kinds of factors.
Mm,
The other factor is once it catches fire, you need chemical based extinguishers to extinguish it. And extinguishes, then it again pollutes the land as well as the
mm,
water.
mm,
And I was like thinking, okay, will it biodegrade? And if it biodegrades, what is the amount of time it takes to biodegrade?
mm,
And I started to do studies on that, and it was like something where it just breaks down, but not biodegrades. And it takes like
mm,
nearly 500 to 2000 years to just break down.
mm,
Imagine if we as humans, we kind of like utilize this material for a packaging right now, and
mm,
then our kids, then their kids, and their kids will be facing that as a issue because like we use it right now and it just like stays to that point of time. So I was like, okay, these are the kinds of impact it produces. Then why do we use it so heavy? The main thing is the cost
mm,
because these materials have been like widely produced, and because of that, the cost of styrofoam is way more less. But there's also a other catch over here. So
mm,
you need to think in terms of the raw material to the end product. So
mm,
imagine, so how does oil, I mean like petrochemical based oils be spun? So it has been pumped in seas and seabeds. Then
mm,
after that, it is like kind of like pumped in terms of a ship where it is like locally transferred from a place to a place.
mm,
Then you need to also think about the transfer where it has been like utilized in terms of a smaller based systems. Then after that, the purification and each and every stuff happens. Then imagine the amount of extraction, the transportation, and then the purification, and then the
mm,
again the logistics, then the machinery who just like kind of fine tunes into something like a customized base packaging. The amount
mm,
of electricity being used, amount of the petrochemical, which is like diesel or any other kinds of like fuel is being used. You need to think in that. But people, they just think, okay, this is, I use it for this, and this is why I'm like throwing it away. But they're not like
mm,
getting in terms of what is the use of these kinds of materials being like utilized and what is the kinds of impact these materials being produced. They don't
mm,
think about that because people just have multiple things to do. So they just like think,
yeah.
okay, this is what I'm buying. I don't care about what is the packaging is coming from. I don't care in terms how it is being delivered. I
Mm,
get the product done. So that is what
mm,
the mentality of people. Even I was like that, but I started to reduce it. So once
mm.
each and every person starting to reduce it, they could like totally reduce each and every impact which a human is being caused by using the petrochemical based product.
Yes, true. And every individual's impact will bring a larger change.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah, and also this reminds me like nowadays, instead of plastic, people are using styrofoam plates and all in the restaurants. Plastic ke
Yeah.
jaga ye. So nobody knows what's behind it. If this is also really
Yeah, and I
bio-friendly,
also
eco-friendly
wanted
or
to
not.
add a point over here. So when people utilize these kinds of materials in food containers,
Mm,
imagine plastic kind of deforms after 60 to 70 degrees of heat. All
mm,
the food we eat or it is getting packed, it is like poured literally like 90 to 100 degrees Celsius. So imagine the small microplastics is also being consumed by utilizing these as like a parcel based
mm.
things. I guess 2 years back or something where people found microplastics in the blood. It is all through these kinds of things as well as
Human
like
blood.
the ocean dumping of plastics and we
Ocean.
eat seafood.
Mm.
So it is through that as well as through this.
And that is, you are
That's a lot.
absolutely correct. Yeah. So my next question is about your journey only,
Mhm.
the shift that you made
Okay.
from mechanical
Hmm.
engineering. And I think at some point of time, we all realize after some time that whatever we have been doing, maybe we're not interested in that and our interest lies somewhere else. And I think there are a
Correct.
lot of people. So like, how can somebody wanting to navigate this change, like what would your suggestion be? Like you would be an inspiration for them. So like, I would want your words for the young.
So basically, I started my career as a mechanical engineer. So I used to handle the overall parts of a company called Renault Nissan in Chennai. So I used to handle the supply chain of South India for a department called Powertrain. So they used to manufacture engines and gearboxes. So what I would say is like, you guys need to go and work in the industry, get to know how the industry works. Not
Mm,
just like, okay, I studied this, I need to work on this. And if at all I didn't like the work, you can't change. So for me, I'm a person where wherever I go, I need some things to learn. Otherwise, my brain becomes stagnant.
mm,
So most of the corporate work I've done so far, everything is like systematic process, and each and every process has an SOP, which is like standard of procedure. So I used to handle all these kinds of like supply chain and all. So I got to know, okay, how does a supply chain works? When does a production happens, and what is the background of each and every particular thing works? Then I was like, okay, I worked in multiple departments inside over there, and out of interest, so I
mm,
did that. And then what happened was I kind of got bored. So after 3 months, that was like nothing I could like learn from it. Okay, is there something where I could like do any other kinds of things? Then I got a health issue, so I had to leave the company because of dust allergy and all other stuff.
mm,
All these manufacturing things produces a lot of fumes, which is like everything chemical based. So I had an issue, and then I had to like discontinue the work. Then I started to work with Volkswagen. Then it is the same thing.
mm,
That was like nothing new to learn. So then started another startup. So yeah, so I would say when you start working in the industry according to whatever kinds of things you have done, learn everything. And then if you don't like it, or if you feel like you're not getting anything from it, then
mm,
change. But change it in a way where over there also you need to sustain. You can't just like change each and every 6 to 8 months. Then
mm,
people like us who runs a company or like a business, we see resume and then we see like, okay, this is a person who is like not even like fully working in a company. Why should I hire him or her? So it also spoils your overall authenticity in terms.
mm,
If this person is not even like willing to work, we would be thinking, see, as a business owner, most of the people will be like overthinkers. So when we hire people, we'll be like thinking, okay, if you hire this person, will this person gonna be staying at least like 3 to 4 years?
mm,
Because that is what we people think. Because we can't just like hire people, train them, and then send them away. This is not something how an industry works. So when we put efforts in terms of training a people, we also expect the professionalism as well as the people who needs to contribute in the company. So when a person just stays in a company, their skill also experiences, and the skills will also like increase. But right now what we face is like, okay, I don't like the company, I don't want to work, I'm just like changing, or I'm just like switching. At least switch it in a way where you kind of like get to know, or it gives something where your skills has been like utilized or gained.
mm,
But people don't do it. So I would say like people, you guys need to be a little professionalism, because that is what I've been like facing when hiring college people who's like finished as
mm.
soon. If at all I hire people who has at least a year of experience, I haven't faced these kinds of things.
Okay,
So
so
you guys need
little.
to be like sustained in a way. If you starting to work in a company at least for a year, because once you just graduate, you can't just imagine you know everything.
Mm,
Don't have that attitude. I had
mm,
that attitude. I thought like I know everything in the world. But then once you go into the industry,
mm,
it is something different. People will just like make you work until you learn a lesson. So I learned it in a hard way. And I asked young generation, at least like work in a company for a year, get some experience, then transition to other company, or then
mm,
transition to different other kinds of careers.
mm,
If you're transitioning to a different career, at least like work 2 to 3 years. Because in
mm,
1 year, you can't learn anything. In two
mm,
years, at least like one fourth, I would say. In 3 years, at least like half you'll learn. But you need to interact and network with other people who have being you have an interest in terms of a particular field, interact with
Mm,
those people and then get to know how that industry works. Once you
mm,
get into an industry works like this only. You need to transition to that industry. Industry doesn't transition towards you.
mm,
This is what I would say to the young generation, because we as entrepreneurs, when we wanted to give people a chance, so there are like many people. So recently, there was a person who was like literally 38 years old, and he has like
mm,
nearly 17 years of experience. Imagine the experience he has.
mm,
And he wants to transition into a biotech field. And he was like, "Sir, can you please give me a chance?"
mm,
After serving 17 years of experience, he's like coming into biotech and he's asking for a chance. When we people want to give young graduates a chance and they are not utilizing it, they just feel like, okay, I need to work in an AC, I need to sit and work. But that doesn't how a biotech lab works. You need to
mm,
stand in a lab.
mm,
Unless or until it is like a research based or a analytical based, you need to stand and work. But people, they don't think like that.
mm,
So yeah, this is what it is going.
I think we need to be balancing between our passion and practicality here.
Exactly. Yeah. It's better when passion and practicality aligns.
True. In this
So
context, would you like to give our viewers any particular
mhm.
mindset would be required in that shift, any skills or something that mindset particularly, I think,
So
because
yeah, if at all any person who wants to start a company of their own, I would ask them to at least work in an industry, at least like a year or two. Why I'm saying is you need to know how to handle people at first. You need to know how to set targets. You need to know how to set SOPs. So once you know all these kinds of things, you need to also know how to manage your finances.
mm,
Once you're just like coming out of college, most of the people, what they do, they don't have any experience other than internship. And
mm,
everyone have been like living with their parents mostly, or maybe the money from their parents. If they started to earn and if they started to spend their own hard-earned money, they'll know each and every finance. They'll know why should I spend it. One, they are like spending their parents' money or any other kinds of people's money. They don't even know each and every hard-earned money.
mm,
So they need to know all these kinds of things before starting a business. Because starting a business is not good. And whatever kinds of Instagram reels or YouTube shorts you see, people say, okay, I just left this and then I started this. Doing I left my 9 to 5 job and then I'm like working and I can take a rest whenever I want. That doesn't work in a business. So you need to have the grit and a passion.
mm,
And most of the thing I would say, like, it is going to be like working 24 into 7. And if you're also traveling, the other thing is like you'll be thinking, okay, what I need to do in that travel time. So your
mm,
mind doesn't stop. It will be like jumping here and there. So that is why I'm like telling once you start working in a company and then get an experience, you know how to fine tune your brain and your thought process.
mm,
Once you have that, you'll have an energy and a passion, as well as it is easier to also convince your parents to
mm,
start. Okay, at least give me a year. I'll
mm,
start something. I'll prove
mm,
something to you. Because most
mm,
of the studentpreneurs I've seen as well as mentoring. So most of the things they face through is the rejection given by their parents. Because the parents
mm,
think is like, okay, if my son or a daughter is like starting like this, what if he or she is not like achieving whatever they have
mm,
proposed? And what if their career has a gap? But
mm,
the other thing I want to also tell the parents is like something where at least give them a chance. Don't pressurize them.
mm,
Let them give them at least like 6 months of time. If the mom in the house is getting convinced with an idea, any VC will be getting convinced. Jokes apart. The other thing in terms, when a mom is getting convinced, mom will be seeing in terms of money as well as a
mm,
career growth. What will the
mm,
society think? What will relatives speak? And will he be able to hire people? Will he be able to maintain people around him? So this is what the mom will be thinking. The dad will be thinking in a financial way. Okay, whether will he be able to afford his own space? Will he be
Mm.
able to afford paying people? So these are the kinds of things the parents will be thinking. But we as students, what we think, whatever I say to my parents, they are not even like listening. You need to also think in their perspective.
Mm. That's-
So once you think in their shoes, you will get to know these are the kinds of things, and you can
Mm.
work according to those kinds of segments, and you can like easily tell them. And the other thing I would ask the studentpreneurs or maybe like people who wants to transition into entrepreneurship, I would say, don't ever tell it to your friends in terms of your idea. Don't do that.
Mm. Mm.
Go speak in terms of the crowd. Go to the crowd.
Mm.
Go directly in terms of multiple other people who you have not even met. Speak with them, pitch this idea. Get to know, okay, if a person is like ready to pay for that product, how much is he willing to pay? So you need
Mm.
to go and interact with the crowd. Then only you'll get to know. Once you do that, you'll know whether your idea is like worth or not. If you're directly going and speaking with either your parents or maybe your friends, what they or maybe your relatives, what they'll say, they don't want to hurt you, so they'll be like, okay, let me just like give you certain kinds of things so that you don't get hurt. But when you go and face the reality of like pitching to random people, they don't
Mm.
even care why they need to be like caring in terms of hurting you or not. They'll say whether they like the product or the idea, yes or no,
Mm.
simple. So you need to fine tune these kinds of things. Then only you'll get to know about each and every sectors.
Yeah, true. That
And
is
I would
something that
also
even.
ask,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah, I would
go on,
also
go on.
ask people to go and speak in terms of industry leaders who have developed something on their own in that particular industry.
Mm.
Because people will tell each and everything, but people who is in the industry will know the grits and nits in terms of each and every sectors, how this thing works, whether it will
Mm.
work or not. So these are
Yeah,
the
what you
things I would
said is
wanted to say.
something that even I could personally connect to, being in social sector, the family things and everything. Mm. Thank you so much for that.
Because
Yeah.
that is what I have like few friends in the abroad. So when they say like, why do Indians still stay with your parents after 18?
Mm.
I was like thinking, why? Then there's like a lot of social economic things and all. But then when people who started to live on their own after 18, they know each and everything. You can like literally learn what you need for life for those people. Yeah, there are people who kind of deviated and then went to multiple other kinds of stuff. But people who have achieved something on their own, you can learn many things from those people.
Mm. Okay, so we have come towards the end of our series. Like before the end, we do this with all our guests. So, like a rapid fire round.
Okay. Okay.
So, one book, podcast, or documentary that inspired you.
I would say a book means Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So that is a story how Nike has been formed. So it is like from Onitsuka Tigers to how a Nike as a shoe brand started. So that tells you each and every nits and grits of what a founder goes through and each and every stuff. In terms of podcast, I would say Think School, all the podcast of Think School is like really good. So there's like nothing comes like particular right now in my mind. So there are
Mm.
like multiple other podcasts. And I would also say in terms of WTF by Nikhil Kamath, all his podcasts are like kind of deep diving into each and every perspectives of the founders, psychological based things, as well as in terms of their background and how they started. So that is where you could like get to know the different perspectives of different interviews and all. And in terms of documentaries, I would also say there's a lot in terms of Netflix. So in terms of mycelium, I would ask people to watch The Future Fungi. So that documentary will teach you what does a fungi do, and then what are the best things a fungi can offer to the environment.
Okay. One innovation that inspires you, innovative startup or innovation that happened.
I would say my ideal is Elon Musk. and whatever he does in terms of the best thing he has done is Neuralink, I would say. Neuralink is a company where it just like connects the human to a computer. So it's like a HCI, human computer interaction. So that is something where you could like get to know multiple kinds of stuff. And then I would also ask people to watch Black Mirror. So that is also something where you could, in one of a particular episode, where they kind of like download the data from a human brain and then they run multiple simulations. So then I would also say a particular movie in terms of futuristic is Source Code, where you could like make use of these kinds of data and then run multiple simulations where you know like what works, what doesn't works. So those kinds of
Mm.
things.
Okay, absolutely right. One word that describes your entrepreneurial journey.
Fun.
Okay,
It is fun.
that's amazing. Okay, so now we've come to the end. Any final word of advice
Mhm.
that you would like to give to the young change makers out there?
I would say have an attitude, but then don't have overconfidence.
Hmm.
At least like understand how an industry works and then jump into the industry. Don't just think industry will come behind you. That
Hmm.
doesn't work. So you need to go according to the industry and you need to go according to your customers. Customers will come to you when they need a product.
Hmm.
And you need to also interact with the customers in terms of what are the issues they are facing. If that is not there, then your product will go down, just like how BlackBerry has gone down, just like how has gone down, your company will also go down. In terms of people who wants to shift their career path, as engineers, I would say we are like well built to work in multiple environments and multiple things, but
Hmm.
have an open mindset in terms of learning everything so that you could like get easily adjusted to that industry. Otherwise, you just feel like the industry is not suitable for you and you'll be changing multiple industries. And after a
Hmm.
certain point, the amount of years you served in multiple industries doesn't add monetary value where your friends or other people around you will be getting in terms.
Okay, Tanush, thank you so much for
Stick to one
taking
thing.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Uh, Thank you so much for taking time and joining in today. I found your journey inspiring, and that's hard work that I can see in you in every aspect what you said. And I hope a lot of our viewers also get inspired from your journey. Thank you everyone who stayed with us today. Please following us for more such inspiring content.